There we go. So hello and welcome to Local Giving's latest webinar, which is really going to focus on how to fundraise in the year ahead. We're at the very start of 2025, and hopefully we can have you happy and confident with online fundraising in the months ahead. So my name is Lauren Swain. I work for Local Giving and I've been with them since 2016. My work has really been focused on hands-on support for organisations, specifically in Wales, and how to help them fundraising. They've typically been organisations that have not done fundraising online before. And so I've done a lot of one-to-one training and online training and support with many members, over 500, and help them to raise money online. So today we're going to take those lessons and take Local Giving's support as a whole and look at what is local giving, what is online fundraising and crowdfunding, how to communicate about your cause, running a successful crowdfunding appeal, engaging fundraisers, direct debits as well, which is really important with the current offer that we have running, and then how to actually start that fundraising. So they're going to be really simple steps that won't take very long, and you should see a really swift impact in terms of income as well if you can put them in place in the near future. So what is Local Giving? We're a membership-based organisation, and our members work with us then to fundraise directly through our online giving platform. So we essentially operate a website that anyone can fundraise through if they are a not-for-profit. And I will show you examples of the different fundraising pages you can do, what they look like, and how you can succeed in them. We then help our members to raise money through donations, but also through grants. And we have a number of grants that we distribute throughout the year. Our own grants, our grants in partnership with other funders, and I'll show you again how to do that as well. We're able to offer all of our members gift aid. So whether you're a registered charity or not, you can have access to gift aid, which is obviously a really big income boost for those that have never accessed it before. And it is really important to make the most of that if you're able to, and we do all the admin involved in that as well. So what is online fundraising and crowdfunding? So when I'm referring to online fundraising, I'm really talking about activity where donations are collected digitally, typically through the internet. The average online donation is double that of an offline donation. So it is really important that you are looking at this as a form of income. And also by having this online donation page, you are ensuring that if someone is looking up a cause that is similar to yours, it might be local, it might be the theme of your work, but you are coming up in a search engine, then you're coming up on Google and they can see who you are and they can donate to you, and you're making that as feasible as possible to get people to learn more about you. On the right here is an example Local Giving donation page, but I'll show you some real live ones in a minute. And then when we talk about crowdfunding, I talk about that interchangeably really with online fundraising, but it really refers to that crowd, that large group of people who are giving small amounts to make something big happen. So you're collecting all of these small donations through different means to reach your target. And you can do that through two types of pages, really. They all look the same. They are all fundraiser pages, but you could break them down into two types of fundraiser pages. So you as an organization can do a fundraiser page, or those who support you could do fundraiser pages for you. So that means if you've got something that you want to raise money for, you know what target you want to do, and we'll give you, equip you to be able to do that. Then you can raise money for that specific thing. But anyone else who wants to be doing a fundraiser for you can also really easily create that fundraiser page, and it can link through to your bank account. And I'll show you real examples of that now as well. So this is one example of a main donation page. So when every Local Giving member signs up to Local Giving, the first thing you do is you complete this main donation page that sums up your work as a whole, that talks about your organization as a whole. It's literally just a small bit of information that you can add. You can add photos, you can make it visual, And it just means that you have somewhere that you can direct people to easily donate to you. I'm just gonna let quite a lot of people in from the waiting room. There's quite a lot there. There we go. And then that means that you are then able to really easily have people support you wherever they're based, and centralize where they can give to you as well. So that's one example of a donation page. This is another. On local giving, we tally what it is you're fundraising. You can make them as visual as you like, and you will have that URL website link up there that you can easily share with people. So everyone that joins local giving has one of these pages that sums up your ongoing work, everything you're always doing. But underneath that, you can then also create these fundraiser pages where if you've got something specific that you'd like to raise, then you can set a target and you can have a page dedicated just to that. So it'll have its own URL link, and you can say, right, I want to raise £2,000 for this holiday club. I want to raise £500 for this piece of equipment. I want to raise 10 grand for a new kitchen, whatever it is. It could be existing work, it could be something new, it could be helping you get your work through the winter. Absolutely anything that you can put a rough amount on of what it will cost you. You can create a page like this, you can set a target, and then you can personalize it in terms of information, in terms of photos and updates, and you can see people donating there too, and they can help you towards your target. And I'll talk fully how to make that really succeed later on. So that's if you want to fundraise for something specific that you are doing. Alongside that, anyone that supports you can also create a fundraiser page for what they want to do to raise money for you. So for example, this is a group I worked with quite closely in Swansea. They're called Circus Eruption. I think it shows it in the photos actually, they've taken on this beautiful old church they're turning into a circus performance. A lot of youth work goes on there, but it's a space for all of those things to happen. And they do very clever fundraisers, but one of the ones that they've done recently is 2 of the people involved have, I think there's a picture of them here, pushed juggling balls, as with the circus link, all the way up a famous hill in Swansea. So they've come up with something that's relevant to the group, that is a challenge in itself, and it's just fun. And they've got support then as they've been doing that. So something like that is a really good example of how you could encourage someone to do an interesting fundraiser, and we'll look at many more ideas later on as well. So when you log into local giving, if you are a member or you become a member, this is what you see. So this is your homepage, as it were, your profile. And there are different simple tabs on the left that can guide you through everything. But this charity profile section, that is where you make your main donation page. That's where you can populate it. You can link it back to your main website if you have one, or a Facebook page, anything like that. Fundraisers then, that's where you can create a fundraiser page, or you can see anyone that's created one to raise money for your organization. Supporters, so you can see the donors and everything that's going on. You can see the grants that we've got live. You can see the grants that you've applied for as well. And you can see donation reports too. And there's lots of help and advice bits and bobs there too. With the donation reports, that's the section for a treasurer or for a finance colleague. They can really easily log in. You can invite them to create their own login. And in that donations report section, then they can run off reports that allow them to check it against your bank account every month, or whatever it is they need to do. In this grant section, you can see grants that are live. We also have a very new special AI function that allows you to be able to see grants that are relevant to you based on the information that you've added to your charity profile. And it can also help you in completing those applications. So if you have any questions around that, it's very self-intuitive if you go into that section, but please do get in touch. So once you've got that local giving membership, you've at the point of creating that online donation page. Obviously, the first thing we need to do is have it as strong as possible, and to sell your story really as strongly as possible. So when you're thinking about that text, we'd really encourage you to think about these few things. So initially, the challenge, why is your organization in existence? What is it that you're doing? The hero, how does your work address the issue at hand? What is it that you do to help whoever it is or whatever it is that you're helping with? And what does the situation look like as a result of your work? What are the outcomes? What are the case studies or the stories of the people that have been helped? Or what data do you have, or anything like that that can be added to show the really great outcomes of all the work that everyone does? And then once you've thought about that summary of what you do and made it as clear as possible, that can then be the basis of your message to people, where you're sharing your local giving donation page link. And your message to everyone you share it with might be slightly different according to who they are. So what we encourage you to do is to map out your network and to think, right, okay, who interacts with our organization? They might know everything about what you do. They might know just something about what you do. But really, they interact with you in some way. And then you can start to think about what is the most relevant message for them. Right, these people, it's absolutely appropriate to say, hey, look at this great new donation page we've made. It's so easy. But actually, this group of people, it's not appropriate to ask them to donate, but they might love to do a fundraiser. Or these people have supported us before. I can ask them to start up a monthly donation if they consider that. Or actually, these people, the best message is asking them to share a Facebook post or something like that. But you can choose what's the best message for everyone that interacts with our organization. And then you can communicate in different ways then. So social media, if you can be preparing content to go on social media, that might just be spending 5 minutes writing out a few sentences that sum up what you're fundraising for. It might be having a few images gathered together, so that you've got things to post. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. If you can make it as visual as possible, obviously it's really important. Traditional media, definitely still consider local press and things like that. You can, quite easily submit articles online to local newspapers. And particularly once you're partway through your fundraiser, that can be a really healthy thing to do. And then newsletters. Don't underestimate the importance of emails, because collectively, that is really the most important avenue to get digital revenue. So from an email is still the most common way where people will donate. And that might be a monthly newsletter. It might be a quarterly newsletter. You don't need to do something that feels unnatural for you, but it is important to communicate via email in some way. And as you're fundraising for local giving more, you will be gathering more emails too. So there will be the opportunity for every donor to choose whether they want to share their contact details with you or not. Everything is GDPR compliant. So if you can see someone's contact details, that's because you're allowed to see them, you're allowed to contact them. So it's nice and simple. And they can then become part of an email list where you're saying, look, this is what we did with your donation. This is what we're up to next. Here are some photos. And those emails become more and more important then too. In terms of social media, it really helps to schedule posts. So for example, say you're running a fundraiser and you're running it in May and June, then you might want to just schedule your social media posts in advance. So something's going out every few days or every week, whatever feels the natural amount to post for you. We'd usually encourage you to not for no more than a third of your posts to be fundraising related. So it just depends how much you're sending other content out. If you're already sharing stories or photos from a weekly group that meets up, it can be amongst those things. But if you do want to schedule a post on Twitter, it looks like typing it out as normal and then going to this calendar button at the bottom that says schedule, and you can choose the date and the time that it goes out. So you can have all of your posts ready to go. So you don't have to think about it, or if you're away on holiday or anything like that, that posts are going out. And then similarly on Facebook, once you've written your post, there's this calendar button here, and that allows you to schedule a post there too. So it can be a really helpful tool in knowing that you're promoting what it is that you're up to, or just scheduling some for your general donation page to be promoted as well. When I say it's really important for social media to be visual, obviously lots of you will have great images. Some of you won't, or some of you might be doing, say, work with vulnerable people. It's not appropriate to have images. If you don't have something visual to share, then these are a couple of options that you can use. So Canva has a lot of images you can use yourself, but you could also create an image that basically is your text. And so your text, you're asking for a donation or saying what you're up to at the moment, in and of itself is an image, just as the text is here. So I could share that on Twitter and it's more visual than me just writing it out. Or something like Pexels here, they have lots of free stock photos that you could use and you could use as the basis of a post in general as well. So they are things to bear in mind if you need more photos to hand. So you've got this strong donation page, you're thinking about how to promote it. It is then time to think about what you might want to do for a crowdfunding appeal or fundraiser, you might call it, whatever it is that you want to call it. It's really you fundraising for something specific and raising a specific amount of money towards that. So with fundraisers that you're doing yourself, they really fall into two categories. And that's a reactive fundraiser or a proactive fundraiser. A reactive fundraiser really refers to you responding to something that's happened. So there's been a community emergency, your roof has fallen in, your funding's fallen through, a piece of equipment is broken, whatever it is, it's something that's unpredictable and suddenly you need money and you need it quite quickly. And so you could create a fundraiser page, put the target, and be really encouraging urgent donations to that. So that's a reactive campaign. This organization, for example, they had a community gas explosion that impacted a lot of people and damaged a lot of homes. And they'd never done fundraising before. This organisation was encouraged to do it on behalf of the council, and we then helped them get their donation page live within 24 hours and did a lot of promotion with them. We're always happy to share things on social media, and they smashed their target then. But most fundraisers will fall in the second category of proactive. You will have a rough idea of what you need to fundraise for this year. You know what your needs are coming up. You know when your existing funding runs out. All of those things, and so you can think, right, okay, these are the needs at the top of the list for me to do a fundraiser for. Or this is the one I'm going to do in May. This is what I'm going to do in October. You can kind of break it down like that. And then just as an example of that, one organization that I worked with, they were essentially friends of a local park organization. They were all over 70. They weren't comfortable with online promotion. And so whilst we helped them to create the online donation page, they wanted to share it in more traditional methods, which is absolutely fine. So they did things like they put flyers in the bags in their plant shop. They communicated with the houses and businesses that surrounded the park. They wanted to create a new garden within the park. And so they were encouraging people who would benefit from that to support them. They put posters up around the park and banners. Their local councillor shared it for them, and he actually paid for the printing costs as well. So to really traditional methods like that can still work really well and still get people to donate online as well. So we can really work with you in whatever way you're most comfortable with, and you can still get people to that online donation page to support you then. And they went from having raised nothing to raising over $4,000. And it's just really encouraging when you ask that you do get. So we really do encourage you to be brave and do that first ask, and then you've got the evidence to everyone. Then you can say to your trustees and your colleagues or your committee, look, this is what we've done. We've actually had this many people support us. I think it's worth us planning another one. And you can learn a lot from each fundraiser that you do as well and improve each time. The most common question would be, what is the target for the fundraiser that you've got in mind? What would it be, and what is the appropriate amount to ask for? What I'd really encourage you for your very first fundraiser is to think about setting a target of between £500 to £5,000. So you want to do at least £500 because you want it to be really worth your time. And I usually encourage not to go much above 5,000 because you'll really be able to see a lot of things the first time round. For example, you'll learn the average donation amount. Okay, people are giving us an average donation of £7. That means in the future I'm setting a £9,000 target. This is how many people I have to reach. if the average donation is this amount, you can learn a lot in terms of what's realistic for your organization and what's worked well, and times of year that work well, and communication methods that work well, all of those different things. So that's what we'd encourage for your first one. The average donation is a lot higher than you'd think it would be. UK wide, it's £20 per donation. On Local Giving, it's actually £50. And so you can give suggested donation amounts on your Local Giving fundraiser page and your main donation page as well. And we'd encourage you to make those amounts probably higher than you think they should be. So, for example, you could have a suggested amount of £5, a suggested amount of £50 and a suggested amount of £100. You can scale those, but don't be scared to make one of them higher. Psychologically, a lot of people will go for the middle one. It could be 5, 20, 50. You can play around with those across time and see what the average donation amount is. But it does get in people's heads as well, so it's worth thinking about. And then there is something called the 70-30 rule, or the 30% rule. You might have heard it, or I've heard it called the rule of thirds as well. But the first third of your fundraising target is the most important. So if you can successfully raise the first 30% or so of your target, you are likely to get the whole way. And so it's really important in how you get started. And part of that is because if you've done the hard work to get me to your donation page, and then I can see you've raised £10 of the £4,000 target, I'm not really necessarily very encouraged. I might not actually donate. Whereas if I go to your donation page and you've raised £1,500 towards your £4,000 target, there's nothing there that's going to put me off. I believe you're going to get the whole way. I will donate whilst I'm there. And so it's a really healthy way to make sure that your organisation is never on the £0 mark. And there are a couple of ways that you can do that. First of all, you can add offline donations at any time. So if you've already had a grant towards the particular piece of work you're doing, or you've had cash donations, anything like that, at any time you can go to your fundraiser and you can add and update the amount you've raised offline. So outside of this donation page, what you've raised, and then it means that your donation bar will instantly not be on zero. So that's one way to very quickly get it going. Another way is you can do something called a soft launch. So you can make your donation page, you can choose when it goes live, you can schedule that if you want to. And then you can say, look, no pressure at all, but if you were planning to donate to this fundraiser anyway, if you could do that in the next week, that'd be so helpful, because next week I'm going to start promoting it more widely. This week, I'm just letting people know who are really close to us. I'm letting previous supporters, volunteers, people who are really involved know about it. And if you're able to donate this week, it would look so promising and strong for new people next week that I'm going to be reaching out to. And together we could raise the first few £100 and put us in as good a position as possible. So you can really make people feel like they're aligned with you and that they're your allies, and that they can help you with that as well. It is worth considering how other organizations, other forms of fundraising can help your organization as well. Your online fundraising can really help with grants, because say you've just done an online fundraiser, you can say, look, we need 15 grand towards this particular project. We've raised 5 grand of that online, and we're looking for 10 grand to get us all the way. You can see that this many people have donated to it when we've done our recent fundraiser. The concern is really there. The care is there in the community for this to happen. People identify with it as a need and have put their money behind that. And so you're really providing extra evidence in your grant application that it's really worthy work, and further justifying why you should receive that grant as well. Equally, you could match fund your grant as well. You could do that either direction. You could say, oh, we've raised 5 grand, we're looking for 5 grand to match it, or we've got a 5 grand grant, we're now looking to raise 5 grand from the community to match it. So they can go hand in hand as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about things like corporate fundraising, but do think about physical events as well. If you're doing anything where physically you could have someone there with a laptop or a tablet to help someone donate, or AGMs or things like that as well. It all does fit in nicely together. It is worth thinking about what you would view as a successful year. So think, right, okay, throughout the year, I would really like to have raised this much through fundraisers, this much from smaller donors, this much from bigger donors or direct debit donors. You can really start to think about what you would view as a successful fundraising year. And you can start to plan out everything you aim to do across the calendar then. So you might say, right, in April, the weather's getting nicer, so I'm going to push fundraisers and people signing up to do half marathons throughout the year, which generally run, say, March to October. At this time of year, I'm going to really encourage direct debits. At this time of year, I'm going to be sending out the newsletters. You can kind of piece together everything as well. This is an example of an organization who have gone from strength to strength, really. So when I first met them, they had never done fundraising before. They never asked individuals for donations before. They were reliant on grants and things like that. And they were quite uncomfortable about asking people for money. They were based in one of the most disadvantaged communities. And they were just very conscious about how it would be received. So together we planned and they planned a number of really tangible fundraisers. So they did things such as raise money for a defibrillator, something that has a clear need for the community, that's a clear instant benefit for the community. They raised money for young people to afford to go to their prom or for fuel poverty. They raised money in COVID for food parcels and mental health support lines and other really practical things there as well. And then eventually they were so pleasantly surprised. And obviously, if you ask, you do get. They were then able to invest in a part-time post so someone could manage their fundraising going forward. And obviously, naturally, that increases the more you can put into it as well. So you can come up with fundraisers that are really relevant and are really suitable, whoever you are and whatever you're needing to do. But yeah, you do need to be resilient. You need to remember that each donation is a win, and it is very much your achievement. You need to remember that it's an experiment each time that you will learn from. And the more data you get each time, the more you'll be able to improve each time as well. It should be a collective responsibility of the organization. It shouldn't just be yours as the person who wears a fundraising hat sometimes or all the time. Everyone should be sharing it. Someone else who does a bit of marketing should be promoting it. Everyone has a duty to raise money because that's going to benefit every role and every project that is going on. And then the bigger the crowd, the better. So the more you can spread the word, can't emphasize enough how important it is to let people know that your donation page exists. Otherwise, they can't support you because they don't know, how simple it could be. So you've got fundraisers like that you yourself are responsible for the page, responsible for promoting. And then you've also got fundraisers that individuals are doing on your behalf as well. So that might look like a local business doing something for you. It might look like someone who lives locally, someone who's been involved in your group before. It's worth considering any group settings that could do fundraisers for you, like sports clubs or schools. On average, each fundraiser raises over £500 and will bring 16 new donors to you. Because if someone's doing a fundraiser and they're asking their friends and family, people are going to donate to them whether they know about your cause or not. And so naturally, they're going to learn about your work as they're doing that. And you are going to have support from people you would never have reached beforehand. And then group fundraisers are even more effective because there's a group of people doing a fundraising challenge and they are sharing it with all of their families and friends. And so it's a really good opportunity for you to grow your network, particularly if you feel at this point you don't have a lot of people to tell about fundraising. The first thing that you might be asking then is for someone to do a fundraiser for you to expand your network in this way. So you've got 3 different options then, really, that you can encourage people towards. The first is that you can encourage someone to do an existing third-party event. So you can say to people, look, there are all these existing events. There's a website like this where you can put your postcode in and see what's happening near you. would you like to sign up to something yourself that you fancy? Create a fundraiser page, and then the money will go straight towards our work where it's most needed. So that's one option for people doing fundraisers. Another one is that they could be coming up with their own idea. So lots of people might not be sporty, or they might want to do something a bit quirkier and make it really interesting. There's so many different ideas that are so clever that people do. These are just three examples. So the one on the left, the organisation basically keeps Snowdon clean after lots of tourists come and mess it up. And so that's what they do. And one of their members did a fundraiser then where he walked up and down different peaks of Snowdon doing litter picks on the way. So it's doing the group's work, but it's turned it into its own physical challenge. And in that sense, it's a double win, and he's raising money alongside what they do anyway. On top right, there's an organisation, someone who really enjoyed cycling decided they were going to come up with their own cycle challenge where they cycled around the UK, and their route was decided by all of the venues that the Disabled Theatre Company had performed in that year. So they're taking something they want to do, making it personal to the organisation, and to come up with a really relevant challenge then. Or the one at the bottom, I really like. So it was an addiction recovery organisation, and they said to people who come through their services and the family members of people who come through their services, and said, did you know it costs £300 to help you when you or your family member, when you really needed it? Would you like to raise £300 for someone else to have that help when they are at crisis point? And then they had all of these different fundraisers that had £300 as their target. That's really justifiable. They can really explain why their target is £300. The organisation has suggested that. And then they all smashed their target. And the suggestion of how they did that was that everyone went swimming in the local pool, set themselves a target in a particular month of the year. And it's something that people can do in their own time, around their own life. And then everyone smashed these targets. So it is really worth you suggesting targets to people who are doing fundraisers for you, either in advance when you're approaching them, or when they're already signed up. Oh, I've just seen you signed up to do a fundraiser for us. That's great. I can see your target's £500. Actually, this equates this for us. So it'd be really good if you could add that to your donation page. You can let people know that this is what they'd be achieving if they help you reach your target there as well. And then the third option is that you can come up with your own fundraising idea or event that people can participate in. So, for example, you want to make it as easy as possible. You don't want to be running any events that are going to take up weeks of your life. But you can come up with ideas that make sense for you. So you can look at what are the basic facts of how you operate and who you operate near. What are the relationships that the people you're asking to fundraise for have with your organisation? What are their motivations, and how can that impact a fundraising idea? So to give you some examples, a community dance group, they know the basic facts are that most of the people that work with them are under the age of 21. They know that people are very local. The relationship is that they love the organisation, but they don't really know that they're a charity. And the motivations are that they love dance and they love spending time together. So that fundraising idea then might be, okay, well, we're going to do a 12-hour dance-a-thon. Everyone is going to sign up to a half an hour slot. You're going to fundraise against that half an hour. Together, we're going to fundraise a larger target. You can either create your own fundraiser page for your half an hour, or you can get people to donate to the central one. And it's using the hall we already have, the equipment we have, the staff skills we already have, and the insurance we already have. And it's a fundraiser then that is a really natural fit to ask people to do. And, you can choose something that's really relevant as well. That could be to raise money for equipment or to get to certain competitions or things like that as well. Another example would be one of our members supports students to do volunteering while they're studying. And so their fundraiser was, together we're going to try and give 1,000 volunteer hours in October, for example. And we're going to fundraise against that. We're going to give their hours, sponsor us to do that. And they raise money then against what they're already doing. plus people probably do more volunteering time as well. Friends of a park, one example is, if you've got physical work that needs to be done, we need to clear a garden, we need to paint a room, you can make that a fundraising challenge as well. So we're going to challenge ourselves this weekend to give the whole youth centre or park a revamp. We're going to either turn up with your spade, give us a hand, or with your brush, or if you're not able to make it, please donate £5 here. And we'll really appreciate that we're all achieving this together. You can really think about what is relevant to your organisation, what is a natural thing that fits in with what you're doing already, so it's not taking up extra time for you as well. And there's lots of other inspiration you can consider as well. You can have a look at what similar organisations are doing on local giving. There's lots of awareness raising days. Absolutely everything, like diabetes awareness days or mental health awareness days, whatever it is, that's an excuse to ask people to do fundraisers around that, to do consider that, your own anniversaries as an organisation are all really worth bearing in mind. And then corporate fundraisers as well, think about how local businesses, how you could be their charity partner, you could be their charity of the year. We have organisations where a business is just doing small fundraisers throughout the year, every cake sale, every jumper day, whatever it is. They are just slowly putting donations through their company's fundraiser page for you throughout the year. Or they might have a big fundraiser they're doing together, or they might have team building days where they come and do work for you, or they're climbing a mountain to raise money for you, however it works. Definitely bear that in mind for fundraisers as well. It is worth having a few things to hand that you can give fundraisers. If you can give them a few sentences to add to their page that talks about your work as a whole or about what their target is, if you can give them your logo or some strong images, if you can give them an example social media post or email that sums up what you're doing, they're things that you should have already. And so it can be really helpful to give it to them too, and just make sure that they've got the link to your main donation page, so if someone wants to support them after their fundraiser's finished, and that they're signed up to your newsletter or anything like that as well, or following you on Facebook. So monthly direct debit donors, everything we've talked about so far has been people giving one-off donations. They give their amount directly to you, but what you really, really want to aim for is having regular donors. So having a certain amount of people every month giving you a certain amount. It's predictable. It puts you in a really safe position financially because you've got income that you can rely on as well. And each direct debit on average will bring you £67 every 3 months. So, if you're getting 20 of those, that's quickly adding up to a really big chunk towards someone's salary, for example. Direct debits can go towards your work as a whole. So it's really flexible income. It's not restricted. If you're doing a fundraiser to raise money for a summer holiday hunger project, then obviously the money is going towards that. Whereas direct debits can go towards anything, whatever your biggest need is, the most boring costs, the cost of toilet paper and keeping the lights on and running the bus, all those sorts of things can be covered by direct debits. And you can give really tangible examples as well. So you can say £10 a month would mean this for us. The smallest direct debit amount that can be given is £2. So it can be really small, but you really want to be looking at people who've donated to you before and considering how you can communicate with them to get them to be a regular supporter as well. If you've got something like a friends of group, and they pay memberships, or you've got sports group participants that pay subs, they can be paid through local giving as direct debits too, but they need to be worked out as a monthly amount. So say someone gives a friends membership annually, you'd need to work out what the amount would be monthly, and then you haven't got to chase people every year to give it to you. You need to be careful on the gift aid front there. You can only get gift aid if they're not getting something in return of financial value. So if their friends membership is that they're just supporting you and they're just getting a newsletter and they're coming to an AGM or anything like that, that's absolutely fine. But if they're getting benefits of any sort, like someone would be if they're paying subs to come along to a sports group, then that isn't eligible for gift aid. So just to bear that in mind. But it is all really easily collected. in one place there if that's what you'd like to use direct debits for as well. And thank yous are really important. If you can have a thank you message you've written out specifically for monthly donors that talks about the long-term impact of their gift, what your longer term plans are as well, because they're supporting you for the long term, and they'll be very interested in your future and what your plans are as well. This is one example of an organisation that really embraced direct debit. They had never asked for individuals to support them before, and the amount of support they got was incredible. And they have almost 500 active direct debits, and that's how they encourage most people to support them. So they said this is what it costs to feed a family of 4 for a month, and then people would sign up to give that tangible amount. And so they were getting support alongside food donations, which is what they'd really focused on before. And then more recently, they've just started to encourage fundraisers. They encourage people to raise money, doing whatever they want for them as well. And they've now got that as a really good source of income. So it is something that's really worth considering. So if all of this is of interest to you, and you're not already signed up to local giving, please do. You can just Google local giving, or join.localgiving.org is the link. And then it's just a case of thinking what you'd like to fundraise for first. And you can share the information with colleagues who might be able to help you along the way as well. We have an offer going at the moment for, if you're not a member yet, or you've got other organizations you'd like to encourage to become members. We have an active offer at the moment that runs to the end of January. So obviously coming up very soon. So it's really important to get on that now if you'd like to. All you need to do is sign up. It doesn't matter if you haven't got time to look at this for a couple of weeks, just sign up. But what it is we are offering £50 in match funding to organizations that join in January. And that is specifically for direct debits. So every direct debit that you get will be doubled up to the value of £5. So if you have 20 people give you £5, that'll be doubled. But someone could give you £2, someone could give you £5. That's fine. We'll just keep doubling it until your £50 is used up. And it means then you've got an extra message to motivate people. You can say to people, we've got this option to have your money equate even more. Start off 2025 supporting us, start as you need to go on. This is what we've got planned for 2025. This is what we really need help with. Will you support us along the way? These monthly donations can really help us to know, they can be the lifeblood of our organisation. We know what the income is. We can plan expenditure where we can really get this project off the ground. However you want to word it. It's just that extra excuse for you to get in touch with someone. And we just want to make it as easy as possible for you to do that. That's an offer that's open to any not-for-profit. So just as Local Giving typically works with any not-for-profits, that's charities, CICs, community organisations. Please do encourage people to sign up and get that offer as well. But yes, it is coming to a close in just a few days. It will just take a few minutes of your time to sign up to do that. If you're a registered charity, it's very quick, and we just pull information off the Charity Commission to get what we need to get you over the line. If you're not registered charity, we need a few extra things from you, such as a governance document and things like that as well. So please do get in touch with any questions. Obviously, the sooner you can do that, the better, and we'll be able to help you all the more if you can do that sooner rather than later. So we definitely recommend making the most of that. And then in terms of starting points, in terms of your first few actions, you're starting to think about what you want to fundraise. Get donate buttons done. So if you've got a website, if you're sending out emails, then you can have a donate button on your email signature at the bottom of your email, on websites. So everything links together with your local giving donation page. Prepare a message to promote your page, and prepare a thank you message. It's really important to thank donors. We send an automatic thank you on your behalf to them. So everyone is going to be thanked, don't worry. But if you are able to send them a thank you within 48 hours, it makes a big difference. And you can either draft your own thank you message that we'll send out automatically on your behalf, or you can manually do it as well. But it really does make a difference. So bear that in mind. And you can get started by really focusing on your close network. So your friends, your family, volunteers, people who have used your services in the past, who are using it currently, collectively amongst those people that are probably already a few fundraisers there or a few donors, who can help you get off that £0 mark or get that first fundraiser. And then you can say to other people, look, this person's doing a fundraiser for us. Here's their page. Why don't you support them or come up with your own fundraiser? You can really get the messages going there. And then it's just a case of sharing it and letting us know as well. You can tag us on Facebook or Twitter. We'll more than happily share what's going on. And we have our own YouTube channel as well. So there are webinars like this one and other specific topics under there. So you can just look up local giving on YouTube, but the address is at Local Giving Guide. And there are a number of things on there to help out, as well as the toolkit in the general local giving in your local giving account as well. We are constantly releasing new AI developments. It's something we've been focusing on recently. So things such as to speed up grant applications, and making everything you do really as efficient as possible. When you go to complete your local giving donation page, there are AI options there as well, just for it to automatically suggest text and things like that as well. So we are increasingly improving that as well. So anything you notice along the way, let us know, and we're always very happy for your feedback. So if you have any questions going forward, please do get in touch. We have the general local giving help desk, which is help@localgiving.org. And we have specific colleagues who can help with things. So my colleague Luke, luke.upton@localgiving.org, is very happy to help if you've got any questions around specific grants or offers or AI tools as well. If you are getting in touch about the £50, use help@localgiving.org, and that will be the quickest way to get response on trying to complete your membership, whatever it is you're trying to do around that as well. Thank you very much for listening.